were some items that were related to his military career. When you saw the name of a person's name on military paperwork, what did you think?
Terry Kirkbride packed his military records, his family photos, his entire life into a trailer to move across the country. It vanished overnight. Then Jose Lozano was caught with it. His defense? He claims he bought that veteran's life history for just $800. It is a math equation that insults common sense. $300,000 in property for the price of a used laptop. The state wants 15 years for this audacity. Watch as Judge Boyd decides if Lozano is a savvy shopper or a liar caught red-handed.
Court is calling 2021 CR 7016, State of Texas versus Jose Lozano. Can I have the parties announced for the record for the state?
Hank Wilkins for the state, Your Honor.
Defense?
Raymond Martinez for Mr. Lozano.
And are you Mr. Lozano? All right, we are here for sentencing. A jury found you guilty. Just one moment. And they found you guilty of the offense of theft, $300,000 or more as charged in the indictment. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report? State.
We have, Your Honor.
Defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any corrections or additions to the PSI report? State.
No, Your Honor.
Defense.
No, Your Honor.
All right. State, what are you requesting?
Your Honor, we're asking that you sentence the defendant to 15 years in the prison.
All right. And the reason?
Your Honor, the defendant was convicted of a first-degree felony offense in this case. Reading the TAP evaluation, he's shown no remorse for his actions. He doesn't say this was the result of being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. His story about how he says this happens is just not credible. Doesn't jive with the evidence that we saw at trial. He says that someone offered to sell him $300 worth of items, over $300 worth of items for $600 to $800. He says his friend brought the trailer to him. The evidence that was elicited at trial indicated that a window of the truck was broken. So it's pretty clear to me that he knew these items were, the very least he knew these items were stolen. But Your Honor, what he's convicted of is theft. And I guess the other part of this, the TAP evaluation, they talked about his home life a little bit. He says he has regular contact with all his kids, but evidence elicited at the trial was he's not paying any kind of child support to Edith Serrano. That was one of the victims, you may recall, Your Honor. Or I'm sorry, one of the witnesses at the trial, Your Honor. I know you were presided over this case, Judge, so you remember the testimony, but Terry Kirkbride and his wife are moving from California to Florida, and they lost almost everything as a result of this theft, Your Honor. But what Terry said on the stand is what really stuck with me. And what he said is the hardest part about this is that he lost things in this theft as a result of this theft, as a result of the actions of the defendant that cannot be replaced. So the hardest part of that for him were the photos that are just gone forever. The things that he inherited, the things that his wife inherited, they're gone forever. Items from his military career that are gone forever, damaged or lost. And so that's what I want to emphasize to the court. And the other part of the thing I want to emphasize to the court, Your Honor, is we're asking for this sentence to protect the community from these types of thefts. This property crime, I think, especially folks who are involved in the criminal justice system, we can get sort of jaded and think, well, nobody died, right? But these crimes are very serious, and this is the victims in this case lost nearly everything that they own. And so, Your Honor, we're asking that you protect the community from these types of crimes and sentence the defendant to 15 years in prison.
All right, defense.
Judge, if the court recall from the facts of the case, I think Mr. Lozano's explanation is perfectly plausible. There was absolutely no evidence presented by the state in the trial of the case that he was present when that truck was stolen, whether he ever drove that truck, ever had contact with that truck, it was ever on his property. His suggestion that the guy brought the trailer to him to see if he wanted to buy it is consistent with somebody who did steal that property, trying to go and pawn it off on people. Him paying $600 or $800 for what was the context is because all the valuables were already gone. All that was left was a bunch of stuff that after whoever stole it, poured through it. He admitted, yes, my print is on the trailer because he showed it to me. And he wanted more money than I could afford, and so I didn't buy it. He offered me the other things that were there. The complainant specifically testified in his testimony, the things that were at Mr. Lozano's property that they recovered were of little or no value, right? If you look at the PSI report, when they go to the restitution, it says approximately $300,000. How can you approximate that when he's already been found guilty by a jury? Well, this court knows why. It's because her math was a mess. The complainant testified in the trial of the case that he agreed in writing a contractual agreement with the insurance company to settle for $240,000. The theft statute is very, very clear. It's the value of the property at the time it's stolen, not what you paid for it years before. So when you read their exhibits, and the jury obviously never did, they put no attention to the real evidence in the case. They felt bad for the complainants. I feel bad. We all do. They suffered a great loss, but they didn't prove he was the one who did it. They proved that he was a party to being in possession of some of the stolen property. That's why we had a jury charge all the way down to a state jail. That was the appropriate charge. This case is ripe and full of appeal issues, especially on the issue of the value and sufficiency of evidence. This case does not merit a day in prison. I get it. It's a big loss. But if you look at the exhibits, and I was going to bring it to you, but it's in the court's file or court board's file. USA went through an exhaustive list, and he says I spent months and I kept updating it, telling them all the things that I lost. They put the retail value, they depreciated it down to the actual cash value at the time of the loss, right? He signs an agreement, accepts the check saying $240,000. And that included the truck.
All right, so just so parties know, I'm not going behind the jury's verdict.
I'm not asking you to,
Yeah, all
I'm just saying the punishment should fit the crime. The jury did what they did, and that's for another court to look at, whether there was sufficient evidence for their verdict. But my suggestion is, if they've proven that my guy drove off with the truck and the trailer and he had gotten rid of everything, I can see that this is a different case. There's absolutely no evidence that was presented to suggest that. And his explanation fits squarely within the facts that were presented in this case. So I get it that there's restitution. My client is going to have a lifetime consequence because of his resident status of potentially being excluded from this country. So he is going to get punished severely by this court and probably another one. So all that being said, Judge, we'd ask the court to sentence him to a term of probation. We'll pay restitution to their number as best he can, as long as he can. But that's the appropriate sentence. If we're going to start locking up every person who goes to a flea market and those people that come into property illegally and they get it in their possession, we're going to start sending them all to prison. We don't have a big enough jail for that, Judge.
All right. Is there anything you wish to say?
Yes.
All right, you want to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Lozano.
All right, and make sure you keep your voice up so the court reporter can hear. Who's the name of the friend that gave you these items?
Who's the name? I don't know his name. They called him.
Well, I mean, you say he's your friend,
Well, yeah, but
and you say you received a phone call from a friend.
yes, there's. Should have wrote it down.
All right, so here's my other question. The items, because there were some items that were related to his military career. When you saw the name of a person's name on military paperwork, what did you think?
At the point already, I had the stuff in my house. I didn't know what to do with it no more. It was there. I bought it. It was in boxes when I bought it. By the time I got to open it, I saw the stuff.
So how much money did you pay for this stuff?
About 800, whatever was in the trailer, when I got it off, about $800 and $900.
Did you look through everything before you paid 800 or 900?
Boxes.
So you just take a boxes sight unseen, sort of like Storage Wars?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And so you don't know your friend's name who phoned you. According to you, it says that you were home asleep on this date and you received a phone call from a friend.
They call him Chaparro, but I off the top of my head, I can't remember his name right now. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, no problem. I just wanted that cleared up. All right, this is what the court is going to do. Court is going to sentence you to 6 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. With regards to the amount, the court does not deal in approximations. So for the court, there is no restitution because there is nothing here to suggest a restitution amount. It just says approximately $300,000. There's nothing I can do with that. And this trial was on March 21st. I'm sorry, just one moment. Yes, March 2024. So by that time, there should have been some amount to the court. So I'll give you credit for any time served. Is there anything else with regards to sentencing, state?
Judge, is the defendant's birthday, May 1st, 1998? Is that right?
You can ask him.
Okay. Is that your birthday, sir? May 1st, 1998?
Yeah.
And Judge, would you incorporate the evidence at trial as to the value? Would that be something you'd be willing to do?
No, because again, the amount that's listed in the PSI report is approximately $300,000. And then defense counsel is correct with the amount that the complainant settled for. And I know how insurance companies do sometimes.
Probably
The amount, yeah, the amount the insurance company settled for was $240,000. So this is where we are.
If I could, just one last thing on the record. I just wanted the court to be aware, the record to be clear, that approximation comes from the complainant. The PSI officer called the complainant to ask him that number, and that was his response,
Yes.
even after his testimony that was presented to the court.
I'm not ordering restitution unless there is some sort of deductible, which the court has not received any information on a deductible amount. So the court will sentence you to 6 years in the prison and give you credit for any time served. Is there anything else with regards to sentencing?
No, Your Honor, we just have victim impact fees.
I do, Judge.
Yes.
We will be filing notice of appeal and a request for an appeal bond. Do you want to take that up today or?
Oh, you have to file you'll have to file the motion and the court will take that up. So if you could have him fill out the trial court certification.
Well, they're going to be filed today. That's why I'm asking if he could be kept in court today so we could address it, or do you want us to set another
It's
hearing?
gonna have to be another date.
So, that's
All right. Once if you could have him do the trial court certification, so I could do that now, please.
Do my magic moves backwards.
Yes. And counsel, once you file that motion, Ms. Ferguson will give you a date.
Yes, sir.
All right, you said there's brief impact.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Are the parties here on Lozano? If you could start your video, please. Who's going to be the person?
It's Terry Kirkbride, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Kirkbride.
Yes.
All right, you may begin with your impact statement.
Okay, I had no idea what to expect in this matter, but I see the sentencing's already been done. I'll just try to keep it short. I think the court's already heard most of our story, but I'll just go down the quick history. I mean, when we made our decision to move to Florida, it was to be near kids and grandkids. It was a pretty tough decision. I lived in California all my life up to that point. Sold our home, gave away pretty much all of our possessions that could be replaced, like furniture, refrigerators, that type of thing. All of our most precious items were packed up very carefully. It took us almost 3 months to get everything properly packed and wrapped. And I bought a 24-foot enclosed trailer, and that's where we packed everything in. On our journey to our joyous move to Florida to start a new life, we made it as far as San Antonio. And of course, from that moment forward, December 4th forward, it's just like our world was turned upside down. It derailed our whole joy of the move. And what was supposed to be looking for a home right away turned into almost an 8-month endeavor because we were dealing with all of the aftermath of the theft. I'm a combat veteran. One of my diagnoses is PTSD. So I was already dealing with that. And then this just totally derailed me and my wife and left us kind of in this state of like, what next? As we put the pieces together, keep in mind, it was 3 years, 3 months from the time of the theft to the time of the trial. and they had some 22, 23 resets. Each one of those resets represented to us is we had to juggle our lives around the schedule of the court. We gave up family vacations, gave up visiting sick family members. We did a lot of things during those 3.5 years, 3 years, 3 months that just kept this thing going. And now we're here at the final part of the sentencing and all that. And I feel for both sides. I feel for Mr. Lozano and how this must be for him, but I also got to understand what it was like for us. These weren't just things that you go to the store and buy. This was our life. My wife is a Native American Studies. She had all of her research that was in those boxes that are gone, all of my VA records, all of our photographs of our family from the past, videos of the kids, all those things that cannot be replaced, along with all my military accolades that are gone. The impact was great. And I am glad that we're finally at a point for us anyways, where we can just kind of turn the page. I think that's enough said.
All right, thank you. And Deputy, you can take him into custody.
Judge Boyd saw right through the smoke and mirrors. She didn't buy the phantom friend story, and she certainly didn't accept that possessing a veteran's life history was an innocent mistake. The sentence? 6 years in a Texas prison. While the defense asked for a slap on the wrist, Judge Boyd ensured accountability was served. Lozano thought he could play the system, but today the system played back. But I want to hear from you. The victims lost nearly everything they owned, memories they can never replace. Jose Lozano got 6 years. Do you think that sentence was justice served, or did he get off too light for destroying a family's future? Let us know in the comments below.